for Meghan and Harry. We know that this has been a core issue for Harry in terms of not only his relationship with the royal family, but anytime he's come to the UK, of course, he had that court battle that he lost with the Home Office over security.
Prince Harry's latest trip to Clarence House was supposed to be about healing. Instead, it turned into one of the most awkward royal encounters in years. What was framed as a warm reunion ended with Harry storming out empty-handed, his tense face saying more than any official statement.
Harry's list of demands?
So we've got 3 things on this wish list, supposedly, that would precipitate a possible reunion with King Charles. The first thing would be...
When the news first broke that Prince Harry was meeting King Charles at Clarence House, royal watchers expected something significant. After years of tension, public feuds, and bitter headlines, this 55-minute tea was hyped as the moment that could spark reconciliation. But reality told a very different story. Out of those 55 minutes, nearly half were taken up by routine security checks. That left Harry with barely 20 minutes of face-to-face time with his father, hardly enough to mend years of strained relations. Observers pointed out that such a short encounter was more symbolic than substantial. If this was truly about rebuilding bridges, why would the meeting be shorter than a typical coffee break? To many, the brevity signaled that Charles wasn't interested in long discussions, much less negotiations. The whole affair felt transactional, as though Harry had come with a list of demands, and Charles had already decided the answer was no. What made matters worse were the images that followed. While the palace stayed silent, the photos of Harry leaving Clarence House spoke volumes. A clenched jaw, a rain-streaked window, and a grim expression gave the impression of defeat. In contrast to the glossy headlines about family healing, the body language suggested a man leaving with nothing to show for his efforts. For a royal family steeped in tradition, every detail matters. The timing, the photos, the silence, all of it created a narrative that Harry's trip wasn't about reconciliation at all, but about rejection. And rejection, once captured on camera, is a very hard thing to spin.
And the third thing, and I think this might be the hardest pill to swallow for the royal family, Harry wants full royal treatment for himself and Meghan.
No.
Curtsies, bows, HRH.
No.
Behind the polite nods and lukewarm tea, many believe Harry's visit wasn't simply about reconnecting with his father. Reports from royal insiders suggested he arrived with a private checklist: money, titles, and security. For Harry, these aren't small matters. His legal battles in the UK have cost him millions, and losing his taxpayer-funded security detail after stepping back from royal duties has been one of his most public grievances. Commentators argue that Harry hoped Charles might agree to personally fund protection for him and Meghan during UK visits. But that would mean the king dipping into his own private wealth, something he has little incentive to do, especially while public opinion remains skeptical of Harry's motives. On top of that, there's the sensitive question of Archie and Lilibet's titles. Though they were officially recognized on the royal website, the sense of uncertainty still lingers. Harry may have been seeking assurances, but if that was the case, the results were disappointing. Then there's the financial pressure. With Spotify deals gone and Netflix contracts reportedly shaky, analysts believe Harry's to-do list included finding ways to ease the couple's financial strain. For the palace, however, this visit wasn't about negotiation. It was about drawing a line. The look on Harry's face as he departed, empty-handed, spoke louder than any insider leak. The meeting was short, the outcome decisive. Instead of reconciliation, it painted a picture of a prince trying to secure benefits while the monarchy remained firm. And in the court of public opinion, it was hard to ignore who looked like they walked away in control and who didn't.
Harry wants guarantees that his privacy will be protected. I don't know about that. I mean, kind of maybe implying that, Charles would be doing the leaking. I think that if anyone is leaking to the media and betraying...
If the meeting wasn't already tense, the presence of Queen Camilla made it even more complicated. Multiple reports suggested she sat in during the conversation, and her quiet presence was anything but accidental. For Harry, this must have been deeply uncomfortable. In his memoir, Spare, he accused Camilla of being dangerous and of trading stories to the press to protect her own reputation. To then sit across from the same woman while asking her husband for concessions was a situation loaded with tension. Some Royal commentators described Camilla's attendance as insurance. With her in the room, Charles had a witness. If Harry later leaked sympathetic stories or tried to reshape the narrative, the palace could counter by pointing out that Camilla had been there and could confirm what was said. This strategic move ensured the monarchy retained control, no matter how Harry tried to spin the outcome afterward. Public reaction was immediate. Fans online joked that it looked less like a family tea and more like a courtroom scene, with Camilla playing the silent judge, sipping Earl Grey while Harry pleaded his case. Memes compared her expression to a poker player watching an opponent lose hand after hand. This dynamic reinforced the power imbalance. Harry walked into Clarence House hoping for a breakthrough, but with Camilla present, the odds were stacked against him. Instead of reconciliation, it became clear that the palace was setting boundaries. The Queen Consort's presence wasn't just symbolic. It was a reminder that Harry's past words carry consequences, and forgiveness isn't guaranteed.
He wants that to be reinstated. I mean, I think at this point it would have to be just paid for by the king personally, because there would be no way for them to reinstate it through the, the sovereign grant or anything. It would have to come from Charles.
What truly defined Harry's visit wasn't the tea or the silence from Clarence House, but the flood of memes that followed. Within hours, social media users were dissecting every photo of his exit. His tense face, the rain-streaked car window, and his grim expression became instant internet fodder. One viral meme compared him to a contestant on The Apprentice being told, "You're fired." Another joked, "He walked in like a prince, walked out like a man Googling Uber fares." The hashtags came quickly too. Clarence House clapback and Harold the Hapless trended worldwide. Fans didn't frame him as a reconciled son, but as a man humiliated, leaving without answers. The ridicule struck hard because Harry and Meghan's public brand depends heavily on image management. Their narrative has always been about breaking free while still holding on to royal significance. But these images suggested something else entirely. Rejection. Even commentators noted the contrast. British outlets called the meeting a failure, while some US media tried to spin it as warm and hopeful, yet the visuals were undeniable. For ordinary viewers scrolling Twitter or TikTok, the story was already written. The photos told a tale of defeat, and no carefully worded PR statement could erase that. This is where the palace's strategy showed its brilliance. By saying nothing and letting the images speak, they allowed public opinion to turn against Harry without lifting a finger. Silence became a weapon and memes became the verdict. In a world where perception matters as much as reality, Harry's exit was a public relations disaster, one that will linger far longer than the taste of Earl Grey. While Harry's stormy exit photos dominated the internet, Clarence House adopted a strikingly different tone. There were no official statements, no carefully worded press releases, and certainly no defensive rebuttals. Instead, the palace leaned on an old and proven strategy: do nothing. Rather than rushing to clarify what was said during the meeting, they allowed the images to speak for themselves, and then released a series of photographs showing King Charles carrying on with his day, smiling at engagements, shaking hands with the public, and looking every bit the composed monarch. The contrast was brutal. On one side, you had Harry, looking tense and defeated in the back of a rain-streaked SUV. On the other, Charles appearing calm, regal, and untouched by the drama. Commentators quickly picked up on this, noting that the king seemed almost deliberate in his projection of stability. It was a message without words. The monarchy continues, unshaken, while Harry struggles to find his footing. Analysts pointed out that this approach mirrors the palace's playbook during past crises. When Diana gave her explosive interviews in the 1990s, the monarchy didn't engage in a public war of words. When Harry and Meghan announced their Megxit in 2020, the palace emphasized continuity and calm rather than confrontation. The lesson is clear. Royal survival often comes from restraint, not reaction. Adding to this dynamic was Camilla's presence at the meeting. Insiders suggested her role was more than symbolic. It was strategic. With her as a witness, Charles ensured that any leaks or alternative narratives from Harry could be countered. In effect, the palace had built a protective shield against the Sussexes' typical PR playbook. For Harry, this was devastating. His brand has thrived on shaping stories, from Oprah interviews to Netflix docuseries. Silence robs him of that power. Every attempt to spin the meeting risks looking desperate, especially when the visual evidence tells such a different story. And with Charles's calm, smiling images dominating coverage, Harry's angry face became the only lasting impression. In the end, the palace's silence wasn't weakness, it was power. By refusing to engage, Clarence House ensured that Harry's visit would be remembered not as a family reconciliation, but as a moment of quiet humiliation. The Clarence House tea may have lasted less than an hour, but its consequences stretch far beyond the palace gates. For Harry and Meghan, the meeting underscored just how fragile their situation has become. Since stepping down from royal duties, they've tried to build an independent brand, one rooted in media deals, advocacy, and celebrity influence. But the cracks in that strategy are showing. Their much-publicized Spotify deal collapsed, with executives reportedly questioning the couple's ability to deliver engaging content. Netflix, once touted as their golden ticket, has cooled its enthusiasm. After one hit docuseries, the question looms: what comes next? Without steady projects or fresh royal access, the couple risks fading from the spotlight. On top of that, Harry's ongoing legal battles in the UK, particularly over security, have drained millions from their finances. Add to this the lifestyle of Montecito, with its luxury estates and high-profile events, and the financial pressures become clearer. Many commentators believe Harry's shopping list during the Clarence House meeting reflected these realities. Requests for financial help, clarity on titles for Archie and Lilibet, and even contributions toward mounting court costs, all pointed to a couple feeling the weight of their choices. For King Charles, however, the decision was simple. Offering support would not only contradict the palace's stance on independence, but also risk fueling public criticism at a time when trust in the monarchy is still recovering. The optics only made things worse. For streaming giants like Netflix, Harry's stormy exit signaled limited access and dwindling influence. PR strategists noted that rejection is difficult to monetize. After all, how many documentaries can be made about closed doors, cold shoulders, and unanswered calls? An insider quipped, "You can't build a brand on rejection forever." Social media added insult to injury. Memes mocking Harry as Harold the Hapless painted him as a man dependent on royal validation while trying to sell independence. For a couple whose brand relies on resilience and strength, this narrative cut deep. Instead of looking like trailblazers, they risked appearing desperate, outsiders chasing the approval of an institution they once renounced. The Clarence House meeting didn't just expose a family rift. It revealed a brand under pressure, a marriage of celebrity and royalty that may be running out of narrative fuel. And unless Harry and Meghan find a new direction, this visit could mark the start of a very steep decline. For years, Harry and Meghan have relied on a familiar formula: tell their story first, frame themselves as victims of the institution, and rely on sympathetic media outlets to amplify the message. From the Oprah interview to their Netflix docuseries, this playbook has often worked. But the Clarence House tea meeting revealed the limits of that strategy. This time, the palace didn't fight back. It didn't have to. Silence became the most powerful weapon. Without official rebuttals, Harry's stormy exit photos told the story on their own. His clenched jaw and slumped posture became memes within hours, and no amount of careful PR could undo that. Even US outlets, usually softer toward the Sussexes, struggled to spin the narrative. They called it hopeful and warm, but the numbers didn't add up. A 20-minute conversation cannot be sold as reconciliation, and the public knew it. Commentators described the moment as a checkmate. By including Camilla in the room, Charles ensured there was a witness. By refusing to issue statements, he denied Harry a platform to play against. And by appearing calm in public immediately afterward, he underscored who held control. The monarchy came out of the meeting looking stable, while Harry looked unstable. That contrast, repeated enough times, risks hardening into a permanent cultural perception. Fans online captured it brutally with the nickname Harold the Hapless. What began as a joke quickly became shorthand for a man chasing validation he can't secure. And in Hollywood, where branding is everything, the label stung. Industry insiders warned that you can't monetize grievance forever. If the Sussex brand becomes synonymous with rejection, its value will drop, and fast. The Clarence House meeting, short and tense, may be remembered as a turning point. Not because it healed wounds, but because it exposed where the power truly lies. Charles and the palace showed that they can outlast, outmaneuver, and outmessage Harry simply by doing nothing. For Harry, the challenge now is enormous. If he can't win at Clarence House, where can he win? And if every royal door stays closed, how long before the world stops listening? In the end, this wasn't just a failed reunion. It was a test of strategy. And the palace proved once again that silence isn't weakness, it's power.